Welcome back to the Deep Plea. In this podcast, we aim to have deep conversations about all sorts of interesting topics to gain more insight and wisdom from the world around us. My name is Karthik. The guy on the other side of the mic is Sven,
Hello, hello.
and today we're going to talk about social conditioning. Let's start with the quote for today. The nature of psychological compulsion is such that those who act under constraint remain under the impression that they are acting on their own initiative. The victim of mind manipulation does not know that he is a victim. To him the walls of his prison are invisible, and he believes himself to be free. That he is not free is apparent only to other people. His servitude is strictly objective. Aldous Huxley, I believe, Brave New
Yeah.
World. Sven, take it away.
Yeah, so this quote is kind of defining deception or illusion of choice, where, for example, we may think that we have a choice. And if I tell you, hey, you can do this or you can do that, you'll think that you are confined to those two options because of the way I've presented them. So you've kind of been, I kind of put you in this box, or in this quote, it says like a prison where you kind of are within these parameters. And I think that in the past, especially whenever this quote was made, it's a big way to control people, especially with marketing. It's like, you have baby diapers and it's like, don't use this brand, use this brand. Even though there's like 100 different brands, it's kind of just putting it down to like a 50% chance that you choose one or the other. And I feel like that's like a very like deceiving way of kind of making people think that they have an illusion of choice. His servitude is strictly objective. I kind of think I understand what he means. It's kind of like who he thinks he should serve is objective, but I think that you can kind of get manipulated into thinking what might benefit you if you serve someone. I could be wrong about that. It's kind of what I'm thinking, but that was kind of a tough one at the end there. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. When we talk about social conditioning, we're mainly talking about like societal pressures and factors that try to pressure you in a way to, I guess, pressure you to think in a certain way. So the world we live in is obviously perhaps more with social media and just modern media is very much a push and pull where we gather and give information through many surroundings and just many sources that it might be too much in some ways. So we try and put these, we try and think that we're taking this information on our own initiative. We're trying to put it into good use in achieving our missions and goals.
Yeah,
And ultimately, we want to believe that we're the ones in control. Uh, you know,
yeah,
Me and Sven say this quote, and we're not trying to say like, oh, we figured this one out. Um,
no, no,
we're still consumers. We still buy
right,
products. We still, watch, entertainment, all these things, and we want to believe that we're the ones under control. But in the book Brave New World, one of the main themes is like, where is that control when basically in Brave New World, the basic idea is that there's a lot of power given to a lot of technology. I think it's
mm,
state controlled, if I'm not mistaken.
okay,
And it just kind of runs its own course and does whatever it wants. Um, so we can maybe kind of see that right now with AI. So AI
yeah,
has taken this world by storm. Right? It might be scary when, if maybe not even if, it controls societal structures similar to the internet, where we can't turn the internet off right now because that would just maybe bring the world down. So maybe one day we might not be able to turn AI off because it'll also bring the world down.
yeah,
And, or, sorry, go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, and even just like a big things when it comes to like economics and stuff. I guess this is more so I'm talking about colleges where right now colleges are super expensive and they pressure students to don't even know what they're doing to either have a choice of not going to college or going to college, even though there's like a plethora of things in between. And I remember one time in high school, I had like a random counselor appointment and I came in and she's like, "So where are you planning on going?" and all this stuff. And it was like it wasn't even an option. It was like you're gonna spend
Hmm.
hundreds of thousands of dollars on this degree, and that's what you're supposed to do. And thankfully I didn't do that right away, but that's kind of a way that they actually conditioned kids to spend tons of money that they don't have on an education that at 18 years old you might not even know that you want. And so having such a big market that's worth billions of dollars with like college education, I think that having that on such a big scale where everyone thinks it's implemented in a part of society as like this norm, it's like they just generate money because now it's integrated in society because it's like you have to make this choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the world is moving a little bit away from that. We're seeing
Yeah,
more people say like, "Hey, you don't have to do this," but
yeah. In the
I'm
past, it
sure
was different. Yeah,
they were still also pressured to go to school or not, or maybe
yeah,
just the path. I mean, I would even say today the path is generally, oh, if you don't know what you want to do, spend a lot of money because you should, apparently. But let's get into the easy question for today. What are the implications of the bravery of the world towards new AI systems? So, meaning, how is society being brave and allowing AI into their daily lives and activities? So, I'll start with this one for today. So,
yeah,
I believe that the rapid innovation of AI that can be used in many aspects, even creative ones, hopefully we don't devote most of our creative process, I guess in our brain, right,
yeah.
to a robot. Even if this robot has all the information in the world, right? I think that you have to be really careful how you use it because uh, you still want to make sure that you maintain your faculty of reason and you're not just like,
Yeah.
oh, here you go, robot, solve this unique problem that I've never seen before because you kind of know what you're doing. Uh, you know, I really like using things such as ChatGPT to explain new topics, or especially like coding topics. I'll be like, hey, I don't really know what this is. Can you walk me through it? Or I'll have it. I think a nice balance that I've found is I think a lot of other people have found as well is to replace the repetitive tasks. So, for example, in coding, a lot of times you do various kind of simple functions and simple things that an AI can easily be like, "Oh, you want to do this? I'll do it for you." And in the in the back of your head, you could do it very easily. But the AI, you just hit tab and then okay, it'll do this thing that you've done like hundreds of times. And I think that is fine, but you should reserve your right to gain skills in solving novel problems. Sven, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, if AI is integrated into society and it kind of does a lot of these subtasks for us, I think that our the choices we have and our options, and as you said, our like faculty of reason, will get minimized and compressed down based on kind of the insane amount of information AI will use to convince you about to think a certain way or to know a certain thing. I mean, even deeper. This might be off topic real quick, but even like a brain technology with AI. I mean, that could like literally make you choose something that you wouldn't even like would want to choose. But that's kind of off topic. But yeah, I think that the implications towards the new AI systems. Another thing too is like when you use it for work or if you use it for like education purposes, it's like, are you actually going to be like learning and like understanding things, or is it going to like kind of just do the things you need it to do? And so, are you going to evolve, evolve like smarter, better with
Hmm.
AI, or are you actually going to be kind of controlled into doing things by AI, even though you're progressing like within life, but you actually may lose over time what makes you you and kind of like build up your own repertoire, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little tangent would be like I was looking at um, some AI system, I forget what it was called, but it was similar to it used GPT-4 and there was like little reviews and people would say like, "Oh, it was able to do I feel like I thought it was some creative pursuit." So it's like, "Oh, it was able to do this creative pursuit for me so I could focus on my business." But I'm also
yeah,
thinking like, isn't your creative pursuit your business? Like
right,
I don't know, there's like a fine line where you kind of I can tell the AI to write our podcast, but I don't
yeah,
know if
right,
that might take away some faculty of creativity and reason that we have to kind of think of nuanced ideas on the spot. So, Sven, I'll ask you
yeah,
the hard question for today.
yeah,
To what extent does social conditioning determine our values and beliefs, and how much agency do we have in shaping our own identities? Should we aim to break
yeah.
free from social conditioning? And if so, how can we do it?
So, yeah, I want to kind of say that no matter what, I think it's impossible to break free of social conditioning. I think that the only way to have any social behavior is to somehow be conditioned by some sort of influence in order to actually develop that behavior. Because it's like Pavlov's dog. There's this really cool, ironic quote. It's pretty slick. And it's like, you know how Pavlov's dog, every time he rang the bell, the dog would salivate to get food? It's like
Nope.
every time you never heard of Pavlov's dog?
No, I know what you're talking about.
So he basically, this is for social conditioning. This is like a
Okay.
huge study where he would ring a bell, and
Mhm.
every time he rang that bell, he would give the dog food. So then eventually, at some point, when he rang the bell, the dog would start salivating just off of the sound of the bell
Okay.
because he
Mm,
expected the
mm.
food because that was
Yeah.
conditioned behavior. And then there's this kind of this like slick quote. It's like every time a bell rang, Pavlov must have thought about feeding his dogs. So it's like no matter what, there's always going to be an inverse to the action. There's going to be a reason. You can't really escape it. Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm thinking about that. To what extent does it determine our values and beliefs? I think if you look at information when it's just you reading it straight on, or somehow just getting the information, you're going to be using your past experiences and all that, whatever it is to, kind of make your beliefs and all that stuff and choose it. I think that it's almost impossible to say that you didn't believe or have certain values based on any type of, context like that for social conditioning. Um, yeah. Do you think it's possible to break free? I mean,
Yeah, I think if you're a smart viewer, well, I don't know, maybe that's mean, but like
if
it,
you're what?
if you're a smart viewer, then like you kind of know that's not true, like it's impossible. Because
Right,
even
right.
if like you try and break free from social conditioning, then in theory you were social conditioned to believe that you need to break free from social conditioning.
Exactly.
So then it's an
Yeah.
infinite loop, it could just keep
Yeah.
recursively kind of just saying that over and over again. Um, so it's
Right.
definitely the wrong idea. But like if we remember, Sven, our second episode that we did, How to Think, we
Yes.
must challenge what you believe because your beliefs are merely that which you do not challenge. So we
Karthik
need
original.
to we need to look beyond the surface of our social conditioning, right? So if,
Yeah.
we see some TikTok and it's some girl being like, look at this creep at the gym, we shouldn't
Yeah.
just be like, oh, this dude is definitely a creep. We should say,
Right.
okay, let's take a look at what is the interaction. First of all, this is could be staged in any way you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And we should just try and control the forces in our minds. So just kind
Mhm.
of control how we think about what we think about. So,
Yeah, and yeah.
yeah, go for it.
No, it's even just like today. I mean, like recently with like social media, politics, and everything. It's like someone's gonna read a headline and they're just gonna kind of repeat that headline in any type of conversation, like on social media, because there's some people that just like post on social media about politics all the time, and it's like a lot of people. I realize they'll like post like an article and I'll have like this quote or like this title that is exactly in line with their values or what they're trying to come across, but usually like from my experience, like 50% of the time they haven't actually read the article, because then if you like bring something up they might not really, it's like they didn't read it.
Hmm.
But it's almost like people were conditioned to kind of just push these things out, you know what I mean? It's like I feel like that's kind of another part of that.
Oh yeah, maybe some reflex. Like if we're,
Yeah, yeah,
if we're young, right, and we come across our like grandparents, and for some reason we're like mean, then our parents are like, "Hey, what are you doing? You better be
yeah,
nice. You better be nice to your elders." And that hopefully we could see as a society is a good value to have. But then at the
yeah.
same point, we could also say that maybe a reflex is okay, posting things that align with your agenda because, you know, people say like, "Oh, maybe you should do this," and then you do it, and then but perhaps you're not questioning, I guess, what you're actually doing, and then we could go into all these layers and layers, but I guess just like that phase, I just want to go on a little tangent where I think that that phase that where our social conditioning determines our values and beliefs is expanding, meaning that we can even be adults and we can go on social media and we can get all types of different messages that we weren't, you know, we didn't get as a child. Like if we,
Yeah.
as 1800s, we stayed in one town forever, we would develop a set of values and then we would stick to those values. But now, we develop some values as a kid and then we go to college or we
Hmm.
go just online, perhaps, even at a young age, and we see that these values are a lot more malleable than I think they used to be.
Yeah, and also like when it comes to like group mentalities and like, so for example colleges, I don't really know a good example, but let's just say like a football game and everyone's like cheering and chanting. It's like the everyone's going to start cheering and chanting, and it's kind of like you can have individual values and beliefs, but the tribal mentality, when everyone's believing something, it'll catch on and more people will follow. And I think as like a society in general, what I've been here, my friend's a teacher, and he's been saying that kids, at least where he teaches in the city, they're very they're not conforming to his lessons. They're acting out, and in the school that he teaches at, they can't really punish the kids, so he has to kind of just deal with their bad behaviors. And because that they're not having any sort of repercussions, they continue the behavior and they act out even more because they know that nothing can really happen.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think that when it comes to integrating things into society and like systems, you need to maintain at least some sort of structural values, or else I think things can get bad fast. And I
Y-
think social media is kind of this expansion that allows us to get so much access to information that we kind of can go off that easier, off the traditional values.
Yeah, we should have some social conditioning, but make sure that that treadmill is not going too fast and giving you too much of a, conditioning workout, I think.
Right.
I think that's a good place to end for today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us. Hope to see you next time.